75 years of rocket launches. The legacy of Cape Canaveral. 75 years had swiftly passed since the historic launch of the first rocket from Cape Canaveral, marking not just a momentous technical achievement, but the dawn of the space age in America. Imagine a time when Cape Canaveral was merely a remote outpost, known more for its mosquitoes and sandy stretches than for its technological prowess. But here's where it gets controversial. Was it merely a military endeavor, or the beginning of something much larger, a gateway to the stars? On July 24, 1950, the area erupted in noise and excitement as Bumper 8, a modest two-stage rocket, blazed into the sky. This event was not just a demonstration of power, but a bold declaration of America's entry into the space race. Managed by the U.S. Army Ordnance Corps and the NASA's Long Range Proving Ground, which would later evolve into the Army Ballistic Missile Agency. This launch was a collaborative effort involving military engineers and scientists, many of whom were rocketry veterans from World War II. The rocket itself was a hybrid, combining a German V-2 missile base with an American-made Wac Corporal sounding rocket. This Frankenstein's creation roared to life, its V-2 base burning for about 60 seconds, to push the rocket to an altitude of 10 miles at speeds exceeding 3,500 miles per hour, before the Wac Corporal took over, propelling it even higher. The launch site was primitive, a testament to the urgency of the times. Amidst a backdrop of Cold War tensions and the recent outbreak of the Korean War, America needed to showcase its technological capabilities. The site, chosen for its isolation and safety, featured a basic concrete pad and sandbag bunkers, staffed by a mix of Army personnel and civilian engineers, including German scientists relocated under Operation Paperclip. This launch, while not setting altitude records, confirmed Cape Canaveral's potential as a site capable of supporting increasingly sophisticated rocketry. This capability was soon put to the test, as the Cape became a central hub for military missile programs and later for NASA's manned spaceflights. The stakes were high and the atmosphere electric. Observers like Mary Pinson, the wife of an ABNA engineer, recalled the awe of witnessing such a spectacle, knowing they were watching history unfold. This sentiment was shared by many who stood in the sweltering Florida heat, feeling the ground shake as the rocket took flight. The subsequent creation of NASA and the establishment of Kennedy Space Center were direct outcomes of these early endeavors. The transformation was rapid, turning a sleepy region into a bustling nexus of space exploration. However, this expansion came at a cost. The establishment of Kennedy Space Center required a massive land acquisition, resulting in the displacement of over 1,000 families and the erasure of entire communities. This controversial aspect of space exploration's legacy is often overshadowed by technological triumphs. Today, Kennedy Space Center is a symbol of progress, hosting launches for both NASA and SpaceX, while the surrounding Merritt Island National Wildlife Refuge serves as a reminder of the balance between human ambition and environmental conservation. As we reflect on the 75th anniversary of that first launch, we must ask ourselves, what is the true legacy of Cape Canaveral? Is it the technological advancements, the human cost, or perhaps the enduring human spirit to explore? I invite you to share your thoughts and join the conversation about this pivotal moment in history and its implications for our future. Celebrating 75 years of Bumper 8, the Wild West of rocketry. On July 24, 1950, Cape Canaveral embarked on its journey into the cosmos with the launch of Bumper 8. Marking the dawn of what would become a pivotal era in space exploration. This launch wasn't just another milestone. It was the beginning of the wild, wild west of rocketry, where innovation and experimentation were the norm. Imagine a small group of scientists, engineers, and technicians launching a rocket from a wooden tar paper shack. Hardly the sophisticated facilities we associate with modern space launches today. Bumper 8, standing at 56.5 feet tall and built using parts of a captured German V-2 missile, was more than just a test vehicle. It played a crucial role in advancing rocket technology, particularly in the area of multi-stage rocketry. While the upper stage of Bumper 8 failed at an altitude of about 51,000 feet above the Atlantic, the launch itself was a significant step forward in the early space race. Jamie Draper, director of the Cape Canaveral Space Force Museum, emphasized that Bumper 8 was key to the DNA of the Cape, laying the groundwork for the thousands of launches that would follow. 75 years later, Cape Canaveral stands as America's premier spaceport, having witnessed over 8,000 missile and rocket launches. This remarkable transformation can be traced back to the pioneering efforts of Bumper 8. The launch occurred during the height of the Cold War, a period marked by intense competition between the United States and the Soviet Union. Both nations were racing to develop advanced rocket technologies, and Bumper 8 was a crucial piece of this technological arms race. The conditions under which Bumper 8 was launched are both fascinating and somewhat alarming by today's standards. The control center was a humble wooden shack, surrounded by a makeshift sandbag berm for protection. Towering mobile service towers, which were essentially painted scaffolding on wheels, were used to prepare the rocket for launch. These images evoke a sense of raw determination and ingenuity in the face of unprecedented challenges. The launch of Bumper 8 also had profound implications for the local economy and culture. In 1950, Cocoa Beach had a population of just 246 residents. By 1960, driven by the growing space industry, the population had surged to 3,475. This rapid growth continued through the 1960s, reaching 9,952 by 1970. The Space Coast's expansion was not just about numbers. It was about fostering a community deeply rooted in the spirit of exploration and innovation. To celebrate the 75th anniversary of Bumper 8, two special events are planned. On July 26, the Sands Space History Center, which recently underwent renovations, will host a free bumper bash from noon to 4 p.m. Activities will include scavenger hunts, giveaways, refreshments, and special displays featuring artifacts from the original launch site. For those interested in a more exclusive experience, the U.S. Space Force Historical Foundation will hold an invitation-only VIP dinner event at the Kennedy Space Center Visitor Complex on July 24th. The evening will feature speakers by notable figures such as Space Force Major General Stephen Purdy Jr. and former NASA Administrator Jim Bridenstine, kicking off the Foundation's new Legacy of Launch fundraising drive. But here's where it gets controversial. The simplicity and apparent lack of safety measures at the Bumper 8 launch site raise questions about the risks involved. How did they ensure the safety of the personnel working so close to the rocket? Were there protocols in place to handle potential disasters? These questions invite a deeper examination of the early days of space exploration and the sacrifices made in the name of progress. In conclusion, the launch of Bumper 8 on July 24th, 1950 was more than just a technical achievement. It was a symbol of human ingenuity and the relentless pursuit of knowledge. As we look back on this historic event, let's also consider the lessons learned and the path paved for future generations of explorers. What do you think? Should more emphasis be placed on safety in experimental launches? Or is the risk worth the reward of scientific advancement? NASA's historic Cape Canaveral launch and Crew 11 mission update. Think about this. A single rocket launch in 1950 set the stage for humanity's grandest adventures in the cosmos. But here's where it gets controversial. Could anyone at Cape Canaveral back then have imagined just how big and how divisive space exploration would become? The photo shared here captures the very moment the Bumper V2 blasted off from Cape Canaveral on July 24, 1950, marking the site's debut as a launch pad for the ages. In the 75 years since, this stretch of Florida coastline has become the backdrop for tens of thousands of launches, each one writing its own chapter in the epic tale of scientific discovery, national progress, and the ever-expanding human presence in space. Rockets from Cape Canaveral and later from the neighboring Kennedy Space Center have carried satellites to Earth orbit, sent robotic probes to every corner of our solar system, and launched brave astronauts on journeys to the moon and even to the International Space Station. Now here's something that might surprise you. NASA's Kennedy Space Center isn't just a relic of the space race, but a busy hub for both government and commercial space activities today. With roughly 100 private sector partners and close to 250 partnership agreements, it's considered one of the world's most advanced multi-user spaceports. But is this commercialization truly pushing boundaries, or simply privatizing a frontier once held in trust for all humanity? That's up for debate, and you might be surprised by how passionate opinions on this topic can be in the comments section. Speaking of current events, the upcoming NASA SpaceX Crew 11 mission, part of NASA's Commercial Crew Program, is set to launch from the Kennedy Space Center no earlier than 12:09 p.m. EDT on Thursday, July 31st. This international crew, including NASA astronauts Zena Cardman and Mike Finke, JAXA, Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency, astronaut Kimiya Yui, and Roscosmos cosmonaut Oleg Platonov, is already in quarantine as they prepare for their voyage to the orbital laboratory. This mix of talent highlights the increasingly global and collaborative nature of space exploration. Yet, some question whether this level of international cooperation is realistic in an era of growing geopolitical tensions. As we look to the future, it's clear that Cape Canaveral and Kennedy Space Center will continue to play pivotal roles in humanity's journey beyond Earth. But are we focusing too much on technological achievement at the expense of other values? Have we lost sight of the original spirited exploration that led to that first launch in 1950? Weigh in below. Do you think today's space efforts truly serve all of humanity? Or do they mainly reflect the interests of a few powerful actors? Image credit NASA.